Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on the topic, Eliminate Multi-Cloud Networking Challenges in One Click. I am Ashok Murli, Program Manager from Veryx Technology. I'll be the moderator for this session today. Once again, thank you all who've joined so far, for taking the time out and being here today. We'll just wait for another minute or so as other people join into the session. I'm glad to have Binu Natarajan from Veryx and Julian Greensmith from Alkira who's going to be presenting today's session. So welcome, guys.
Thanks, Asha. Thanks for having me here.
Glad to have you. Yep, I think let's get the ball rolling. Enterprises often find it challenging to transform existing on-premises networking technologies into the cloud environment, and more so in multi-cloud environments. Since the complexity of networking and security escalate with multiple use of clouds, thus requiring separate teams for each type of cloud, resulting in higher operational costs and lesser governance. Alkira's Cloud Exchange Service Exchange takes the complexity out of multi-cloud networking out, and instead offers a standardized interface via an overlay of Alkira Cloud Exchange points that provide a single connection to the multi-cloud world. Before we begin the session, I have a few items to cover regarding the BrightTalk platform. We'll be running a live Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So we've enabled an ask a question feature for the audience. You will be able to find it on the right-hand side of your screen in the auditorium section. So if you have any questions, just feel free to pop them out there. And if you miss out anything, don't worry. We'll be sending you an on-demand recording when it's available. So without much further ado, I'd like to hand on the mic to the presenters. Guys, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Ashok. I appreciate your introduction. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, according to your time zone. My name is Binu Natarajan. I have been with Veryx Technologies for the last 15 years, having worked on the product side, as well as with various datacom and telecom customer companies. Currently, I head the cloud services practice in Veryx, helping enterprises to successfully build infrastructure in the cloud, as well as in migrating their applications to the cloud. So now I request Julian to introduce himself. Julian?
Yeah, hi, everybody. My name's Julian Greensmith. So I head up the APAC region for Alkira. So I'm based out of Melbourne, Australia. I've been covering broadly APAC. So I've been with Alkira for coming up to a year now, not quite a year. Prior to that, I had roles at Cisco, where I joined following the acquisition of Vitella, the SD-WAN company where I also worked, and then a long career across various different IT vendors and integrators. So yeah, great to be on the call with everyone today. And as Binu and Ashok said, I really appreciate you taking the time out, and I hope you enjoy the session. Thanks, Binu.
Thank you, Julian. Yes. Moving to the first slide, let me take you through the agenda of this session. So in this session, I will start with a quick introduction about Veryx Technologies and the services that we offer to enterprises for cloud. Then cover the challenges that are encountered in building and managing networks in the cloud. So then Julian will tell us how Alkira's product helps to solve these challenges and cover other capabilities and benefits. He also covers a few key use cases of Alkira solution. Finally, we will end this session with questions and answers. So if you have any questions, please post them in the QA box during the presentation. So moving to the next slide. Veryx Technologies has been in the industry for 18 plus years, addressing networking and data communications. So Veryx products provide network visibility, monitoring, test and measurement to enterprises, cloud providers, telcos, and equipment vendors. Our services cover cloud transformation, telco transformation, networking development, and data and analytics. Move to the next slide. So Veryx offers its cloud service capabilities across day 0 to day 2. to clients who require cloud transformation services. For day 0, we cover the design and architecture of infrastructure, applications, cloud constructs, setting up cloud operations with relevant CI/CD tools, and finally analytics. For day 1, which pertains to application deployment, we cover setting up infrastructure, applications, cloud constructs, and cloud ops. For day 2, we cover governance and monitoring aspects pertaining to monitoring multi-cloud and health of the network, security compliance, cost and operational optimization, and capacity planning. So let's look at the typical challenges that are faced in these spaces and how Veryx addresses them currently. So moving to next slide. Let's start with the aspect of designing and architecting an infrastructure on day 0. In the pre-cloud era, that is with on-premise infrastructure, architecting a network was easier because it came with fixed hardware, fixed security configuration, specified connectivity interfaces, and sometimes the code of the application was also fine-tuned for better performance with the underlying hardware. But in the cloud era, it has changed completely. Enterprises are getting infrastructure from a cloud provider where they do not have complete control and visibility. Different enterprises use cloud infrastructure in different ways according to their technical, operational, and business needs. For example, some who want easy management and procedures choose the single cloud. Many of those who cannot move their application completely to the public cloud due to regulatory or hardware dependencies choose hybrid cloud, and others support multi-cloud. After sorting out the infrastructure requirements and design, we assess what preparation is needed with respect to the application. Traditional monolithic architectures are much easier to manage, but the current microservices-based architecture could get very complicated. The challenging part of this architecture is its distributed nature and the ability to scale in and scale out each service independently. The most critical factor is the connectivity between these microservices, because disruption in connectivity impacts services communication and then the performance of the application itself. Before the cloud era, in infrastructure, we were considering only static components like CPU, RAM, disk space, and network interfaces for architecting applications. But now, there are a lot more components added to this list, and their behavior is dynamic. For example, compute instances come with automatic scaling, storage comes with automated lifecycle management, then a lot of micro subnets and many security features. Often clients assume that these components required for their application in the cloud are entirely taken care of by the cloud providers. They think they can just log into the service provider's portal, subscribe all these components as services, and use them immediately. But in reality, the cloud providers give only the individual constructs. It is the responsibility of IT managers and software architects to put all these constructs together according to their application requirements. The challenge is that in the cloud, there is no single way to do this. The second point is that many of the constructs cannot be modified or customized after being deployed. Some services need to be deleted and fully recreated. So the IT manager must have a complete picture of the constructs that are needed for the application, how those should be linked and communicated securely, and how they will support them as future growth is needed. There are a wide variety of CI/CD tools available in the market. Cloud providers also come with their own CI/CD tools. Few enterprises choose to use cloud-neutral automation tools like Terraform, Ansible playbooks, etc. So they have to learn those tools, implement them, and over a period of time, it may become a burden to manage those tools and the scripts. The other essential aspect of cloud infrastructure is to have a right analytic tool. The tool which is chosen should help to observe the health of each component, the communication between the components, utilization of the components, help to plan for retaining or expansion of those components, and finally troubleshooting any malfunctions. These day zero activities are mostly done by Veryx solution architects, and they give the blueprint to the client's IT team. Moving to the next slide. Let's move on to day one. In on-premise scenario, the responsibility of the IT team is very limited in this phase. For example, when they have to give a server to development team, they install an operating system, some tools for application development, collaboration, monitoring, and they hand over the server to the team. They don't work much with other infrastructure components because those are fixed. In cloud, these server components can be had from cloud providers as off-the-shelf as compute, but IT team has to subscribe these computes additionally with other infrastructure components and put them together for the best performance of the application in a very cost-effective way. The infrastructure components for storage, backup, security that were on-premise are now in the cloud. So either the IT team should have the knowledge and experience to deploy such components and troubleshoot them in the cloud, or they take Veryx help in performing these operations. The current market demands continuous evolution of the application. It in turn requires frequent changes in this consumption-based infrastructure. We help to provide the automation with CloudOps tools. Moving to the next slide. Let's move on to day two. The day two operations are the crucial and sensitive phase. In this phase, where the customers have begun using the application, and the application should work well with the SLA given to them. It can be done only by monitoring each and every event in the application and infrastructure, early detection of any unintended behaviors, and very quick resolution to them. The tool that we choose to monitor should have these capabilities and ideally work for any type of cloud, be it single cloud or hybrid cloud or multi-cloud. Like I said before, the network plays a vital part in the infrastructure. So it should be monitored well to ensure that there is no congestion of traffic, should be able to switch traffic to an alternate link during congestion or link failures, ability to analyze traffic flows and its patterns. So these details will help to estimate and plan for future capacity. In a cloud environment, these levels of details depend on the capabilities of the services that we get from the provider, and it varies depending on the cloud provider. Thus far, we have covered the activities in day 0, day 1, and day 2 with respect to cloud transformation, challenges related to that, and how we help our clients through this transformation. Moving to the next slide. Next, let me take two scenarios of cloud adoption and explain what needs to be considered in the networking and security point of view and the challenge we often face. The first scenario is where we see the journey of an enterprise which moved their workloads from on-premise to cloud. This slide shows an illustrative network for an enterprise. This enterprise has two offices in different regions. They were hosting the application to serve users in Mumbai and San Francisco. Initially, they were hosting the application in the servers on their premises, that is before adapting a cloud. First, let us look at the office in Mumbai, the left side of this slide. It has three networks according to the teams and activities they perform. The first one for development and testing teams, second for operations and support teams, and third for production servers in which the application is hosted. The external users access the application from the public internet through a firewall. The advantages of having such an on-premise infrastructure is that it is highly reliable, secure, and allow enterprise to maintain a high level of control. The entire network is dedicated to them, so they can apply any level of access restrictions in their internal network. They can also restrict access to external users at a single point of entry. The firewall in the entry point can be hardened by appropriate ACL rules, NAT, and so on. Also, they can monitor the traffic at the firewall device, where they can get a clear idea of the application usage and security threats. As long as the enterprise has customers in one region, this infrastructure works well. But the known drawback is that if there is a need to procure a new appliance and provision it to the network, it takes a lot of time. Let us see now what happens when the enterprise has customers in another region, San Francisco. First, they have to set up an office in San Francisco with servers and network appliances and then host the application. Not only that, but they may also need a small team of support to help the customers. There should be a dedicated VPN link between offices in Mumbai and in San Francisco to do software updates, apply security patches, and collaboration between teams in these two cities. The biggest challenge is that setting up an office in a new premise is time-consuming and involves considerable amount of cost. Moving to the next slide. The concept of virtualization helps to remove the time spent on procuring servers and appliances. In this slide, we can see the servers in Mumbai office are virtualized and placed in the private cloud. The communication from the teams to servers can also be restricted using virtual firewalls in the data center. However, the need for the new premise in San Francisco in this scenario remains the same. So another option is to host the application in a public cloud as in San Francisco. In this case, they get additional benefits of the cloud like scalability, resiliency, etc. However, now the IT team has to manage two types of clouds, a private cloud in Mumbai and a public cloud in San Francisco. Also, there should be seamless connectivity from the Mumbai office to the public cloud in San Francisco. The security policies and monitoring tools also need to be customized for both clouds. Move into next slide. The last option is to host the application in the public cloud in both locations, as in this slide. In this case, the IT staff should create a peering between virtual networks, or we say like VPC or VNet, to communicate between them. This increases benefits to users with respect to performance, availability, and durability in both locations, but the IT team needs to manage and monitor connectivity between more entities, that is across offices and across clouds. The security policies also need to be customized according to the virtual appliance in the cloud and physical device in the office. In this first scenario, we saw the cloud adoption journey from on-premise to public cloud through virtualization and hybrid cloud. Moving to the next slide. So now let's move on to the second scenario. In this scenario, we consider an enterprise that wants to expand its infrastructure to multi-cloud to use data centers in different regions. They start their cloud journey with Amazon Cloud in one region, let's say in Mumbai. Then they expect to expand to another region with the same Amazon Cloud, and later to a new cloud, either Azure or GCP, whichever available in that new region. Let us see how this is being deployed with the cloud provides constructs in this slide. Application servers are deployed in the cloud with the compute, storage, network, security, etc., with all the available constructs in the cloud. The corporate office is connected to the cloud using a VPN or Amazon Direct Connect. Similarly, the data center is connected using another VPN or Amazon Direct Connect with a suitable encryption for the data in transit. Few of the SaaS applications are also being used for collaboration and monitoring purposes. Users in the Mumbai region are accessing those applications directly in the cloud. To have a distinct network for each team, there should be a multiple subnets, and each subnet has firewalls, route tables, gateways, etc. Also, firewalls and gateways are used for the external links for VPN access and SaaS tools. The point here is that each firewall settings are unique and need to be reconfigured for any changes in the links later. And too many frequent changes will make the network unstable and potential for leaving holes in security. Moving to the next slide. In this slide, we see the enterprise expands to a new region, San Francisco. They want to repeat the same network and servers, but they want to extend the service of SaaS tools from Mumbai region. Since this infrastructure is from the same cloud provider, the simplest option is to automate the provision of the network and deployment of the application using some automation tools. However, it becomes difficult if there are frequent changes. Moving to the next slide. Additionally, to communicate between the VPCs in a different region, they need to set up a peering connection. This peering connection is also should be protected with a firewall. For better protection, if they use third-party firewalls from providers like Fortinet, Checkpoint, Palo Alto, or Cisco, they should ensure that it is available in the cloud marketplace where they intend to expand. If not, they have to find an alternate firewall that is available in that marketplace. They have to make sure that the identified firewall should be compatible with the firewall in the peering region. If they are using automation, they also need to make changes in the code for the new firewall procured in the new region. Moving to the next slide. In this slide, we see what happens when the enterprise expands its presence in another region with a different cloud provider. Applications may work as before, as those are running in compute, but we need to set up the network entirely with the constructs from the service provider. There will be a massive change required in automation code if automation was used. Moving to the next slide. As you see in this slide, they end up having multiple connections between cloud and office, and it looks really messy. The maintenance also becomes incredibly complicated. Not only that, but the developers may also have to rewrite some of the application code according to the constructs in the new cloud. Moving to the next slide. Let me summarize the challenges that I have presented so far. Number one, building networks in the cloud requires a lot of native constructs like VPCs, subnets, gateways, routables, ACLs, DNS services, load balancers, and the list goes on and on. So the management of all these constructs is exceptionally complicated. Number two, like I said in the previous slide, some appliances available in one marketplace may not be available with all cloud providers, and the appliance which we buy may not be compatible. So seamless connectivity between the application in all cloud providers may not be possible. Another paramount requirement of the IT team is to have skilled members. They need to learn and effectively utilize the constructs in cloud for scalability, elasticity, high availability, and cost, most importantly, cost optimization. Number four, inability to ensure consistency in security policies, configurations, and visibility across the cloud for better governance. Number five, limitation in automation, because the IT team needs to learn multiple tools, make code for different clouds, and maintain multiple versions of the cloud. Multiple versions of the code. Number six, the absence of uniform and a one place to observe the traffic flow. Having such option can help to understand the traffic flow very well, increase the ability to troubleshoot and resolve malfunctions seamlessly across the cloud. And last, putting up different appliances, inefficient usage of constructs, and training IT staff increases the total cost of ownership to the enterprise. Moving to the next slide. With these experiences, we thought of an architecture, as shown in this slide, which will help our customers to work with any cloud seamlessly. Here, we wish to have a virtual point of presence in each region with all the functions similar to a WAN device like NAT, firewall, VPN, etc. The corporate office and data centers can be connected directly to the nearest virtual POP. So the enterprises will have a single point of entry to their networks in a region. This is similar to what we saw in the on-premise network. We believe it helps to manage the network efficiently, apply consistent security policies, and monitor the traffic and events. Also, if this virtual POP acts as a transit device, and if the same instance can be deployed across all clouds, the application can seamlessly communicate across regions without those messy connections. And it results in a single unified multi-cloud network. So now I would request Julian to talk on Alkira solution for these challenges. Over to you, Julian.
Thanks, Banu. I really appreciate you taking everybody through that. I think Banu's done a really good job there of illustrating, just how complex these cloud network deployments can get. I think, as you can see, and what most of us may have experienced in our efforts in cloud networking, that to get started is very easy, but as that deployment grows across multiple regions, and then especially across multiple clouds, what we see is a massive increase in complexity and a lot of trouble and difficulty maintaining the security and the network architecture that you want to achieve. So what I want to do now is take you through, I guess, just a quick intro to who Alkira are. For some of you, this may be a new name in the market. And then I'll take you through briefly, the problems that we're trying to address and the solution that we bring to market. So Alkira was founded in May 2018. So we, at that point in time, we had funding, Series A funding, $30 million from three primary backers, being Kleiner Perkins, Sequoia, and Google Ventures, who are now GB. We started working with customers in late 2019, and we launched the service this year in April of 2020. And really the mission that we have is to reinvent networking for the cloud. Now, initially that is a focus on multi-cloud networking and multi-cloud architectures, but really building out a scalable network platform across a range of use cases that can be consumed as a cloud service. So if we look specifically at multi-cloud, and just to, I guess, extend on what Banu was taking us through early, is really how do we see customers consuming or architecting multi-cloud services today? And we can really divide it up into three strategies. What we see in a lot of larger enterprise is obviously customers moving towards a co-location method to drive their multi-cloud deployment. Now, this comes with a range of constraints, particularly the high upfront costs of installing infrastructure into co-location, the complex provisioning process, so not just the configuration and programming of the devices, but the actual physical rack and stack, potentially across multiple co-location facilities, and a degree of suboptimal routing as I need to route in and out of the cloud to move between the cloud providers that I might be supporting. The next option we see is customers embarking on a cloud-native approach. And this is really just trying to utilize all the tool sets that are provided by each of the cloud providers to architect their network infrastructure. Now, the challenge that we see customers sitting here is really each of the cloud providers has their own unique set of capabilities, and they're very dependent on the individual cloud provider that you're using. And so it's not necessarily a given that the way that you'll architect in one cloud provider is immediately transferable to another cloud provider. And you may have to completely re-architect as you move from cloud A to cloud B. We also see a challenge in enterprises with a lack of expertise where the internal team may be proficient on a single cloud provider, but then when you move to a second or even a third or fourth, those expertise become less and less. And we also see challenges with customers hitting restricted cloud limits. This could be the way route tables and segmentation works within a cloud provider. It could be how many routes you can export, or the integration of firewalls and other advanced network services that provide challenges. And lastly, we see a method of customers really attempting to do a DIY cloud netting approach. Now, this is using a range of third-party tools, third-party routing infrastructure to try and build an overlay by installing network appliances and controllers into each of their cloud workloads. The challenge we see here again is it just becomes yet another tool to learn. So on top of understanding each of the cloud providers' independent networking semantics, you also need to learn and operate the new tool that you're deploying. It can be very disruptive in terms of how you deploy and how you modify your architecture to adopt. We also tend to see a large failure domain incurred from these sort of techniques. So really that led us at Alkira to see that what we need as we move to a more cloud-centric, and what we see, I guess we can say that center of gravity of a network moves towards the cloud, is we need to have a new network that operates on cloud principles. So that's really a network that's built for the cloud and behaves like the cloud. And that's what Alkira has set out to achieve. So the product that Alkira brings to market is called the Alkira Cloud Services Exchange. Now, the Cloud Services Exchange is a unified point of presence with globally distributed cloud exchange points that operates as a service. Now, the key here, this is not a VNF. This is not something new infrastructure that you'll be deploying into your account with cloud workloads. This is a service operated and run by Alkira that you consume as a service to provide your network assets. Now, within this service, we provide connectivity and services insertion between SD-WAN fabrics to your remote sites and users, as well as into the various public clouds, the different cloud regions, as well as internet breakout. Now, the service is made up initially of we have architected the service to be very easy to consume. So we provide a digital design canvas that allows you to point and click and draw out the network connectivity that you want. And in doing that, overcome the underlying limitations that may exist in each of the disparate cloud providers you're working with. We also incorporate a network services marketplace into the solution offering. Now, this network services marketplace allows you to instantiate services such as firewall services, which I'll talk about in more detail in a moment, into your cloud network infrastructure and reuse them across all your on-prem connectors as well as your various cloud connectors. So you can provision and scale that service in one place and reuse it everywhere. We also natively integrate an intent-based policy into the system that allows you to describe the connectivity that you want, the policy that you want to permit and deny throughout the fabric, and implement that once. As well as implementing advanced segmentation capabilities, regardless of the provider, your on-prem networking or your cloud provider services, and robust day 2 operational and analytics tools. Now the key here is this service is completely delivered as a service, can be provisioned in a single click, and is ready in minutes. So you can build an interconnected set of cloud exchange points connecting your SD-WAN, your remote users, your campus, branch, and data center locations into any of the major public cloud providers across multiple regions. And from the time you sign up for the service to the time you are running in production can be less than 1 hour with full connectivity across the world. So if we take a little bit more of a detailed look in terms of what a cloud exchange point is, so that cloud exchange point is made up of a management plane that allows you to monitor, configure, and operate the network, a control plane that deals with routing and forwarding decisions, and a data plane that deals with the actual forwarding of traffic, services insertion, and policy implementation. Now, each of these CXPs, as I said, will be deployed in different regions throughout the world, and will provide connectivity between remote CXPs that are part of your CSX subscription, the various different cloud providers, as well as the internet and sites and users. Now, the service is provided with high availability by default. It is not an option, not something you have to configure. Everything is by default highly available, and the whole service is elastically scalable. So Alkira in the back end will scale up the capacity as demand increases, and you don't have to deal with capacity planning. So that means you can start out very small and you can grow to very large without any large upfront expenses or having to do capacity planning upfront yourself. So I just want to step through a couple of popular use cases that we see customers deploying on the Alkira Cloud Services Exchange. And so these are just experiences that we've had as we've gone and adopted our customers since we launched in April, and what we see customers utilizing our service for. So the first one is really delivering that end-to-end cloud and multi-cloud networking. So what this is really using the Alkira Cloud Services Exchange to provide a multi-region connectivity service that connects your on-prem locations into the various different cloud providers you want to connect to. And at the same time, providing segmentation and micro-segmentation into each of those providers, even where those providers don't natively support segmentation capability. So Alkira there will provide each of these points of presence, provide automated onboarding of the cloud workloads, provide the routing and forwarding plane that enables global route segmentation, as well as I said, on-demand scaling and billing and chargeback of the service. The key here, as I said, is that there is no upfront capacity planning or deployment required. You can sign up for the service and start utilizing it immediately. Another key use case we see from our customers is utilizing the Cloud Exchange points to host cloud-based network services, and specifically cloud-based security for both their on-prem as well as their multi-cloud workloads. Now, the example I have here is deploying Palo Alto Networks firewall appliances into the Cloud Exchange, and they are available through our partnership with Palo Alto as a service on our network services marketplace. So in this scenario, a customer can establish a point of presence with Alkira, deploy one or more VM series firewalls into that point of presence, and those firewalls can be set to auto-scale based on the demand of the consumption. So you can choose to have a single appliance running in normal operation, and then auto-scale that to 2, 3, 4, or more appliances based on the active load that you see on the network. Now, the Alkira intent-based policy will be used to select which traffic gets redirected to those firewalls, and rich traffic should be forwarded natively. And the important thing here is when we install those VM series firewalls, there's no requirement for source matting or any other complex configuration. We continue to maintain source and destination IP visibility end-to-end throughout the network. And so you can see in this example, we can have users connecting in between different on-prem segments. So we may be securing different regions of the world or different portions of my network, my on-prem network, using this cloud-hosted firewall. I could be using it to secure inbound or outbound access to the internet for my application presentation or my user access to the internet, as well as securing external third parties. It could be used for a business partner or an extranet type use case. And of course, also that ability to provide segmentation and security isolation between cloud workloads for either between a single cloud or between the various different clouds that I'm hosting service for. Now, the last use case I wanted to take you through was network and security operational visibility. So as Alkira becomes that forwarding path for the traffic that's moving between both your on-prem locations, your remote users, and the various public cloud providers, we're also able to inspect that traffic and provide a single interface that provides you with detailed information around application usage, network utilization, as well as infrastructure health. So the Alkira dashboard can become that single point of visibility for analytics, troubleshooting, and control end-to-end throughout your network, aggregating up the function that may be provided currently out of half a dozen or more different tools and dashboards into a single unified view. Now, that's all I had to take you through. So obviously that provides you an introduction to the Alkira service, as well as thank you to Banu for providing us an intro to Veryx and the services they provide. We're now going to take a moment here to go through any questions that we've received from the audience, and then we have some parting thoughts for you as well.
Yes, Julian, thank you again. Binu and Julian, giving us a quick overview of Alkira and the multi-cloud solutions way forward, right? So Veryx has always earned the reputation of being an innovative and reliable provider for visibility and monitoring solutions. So one of the key attributes for Veryx is that we deliver significant reduction in time and effort, and thus resulting in ROI. And partnering with Alkira kind of unfolds an exciting times ahead and opportunity for Veryx, as we strongly believe Alkira's disruptive solution is going to be a game changer in the market. Right. So yes, we do have a lot of interesting questions from the participants. I have a few which I'm going to throw out to you and Binu. So here we go. So one question, one of our participants has asked, does the Alkira CFX provide high availability, and how is this construct?
Yes, I think that was a question around high availability, Ashok, if I heard you correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's a great question.
Right.
And so one of the things we did in designing the service was wanted to make sure that high availability was a default option and not something that you had to configure as an additional. So when you connect into each of these CXPs, we actually have them provisioned across multiple availability zones to make sure that and every connection is terminated to redundant nodes within our infrastructure, whether that be into your on-prem or into your cloud environments. So that ensures that any failure anywhere within the Alkira service will not cause any downtime to any user traffic, and we can quickly restore service in the event of an individual node outage within the infrastructure.
Fantastic. Good to know that, Julian. Moving on, another question. If an enterprise is newly planning to move its apps to public cloud, will Alkira product help in such migration?
Yeah, I will take up this question. So this is related to migration, right? Yeah.
Right, that's right.
If you are referring to day zero, yes. If you are referring to day zero, yes, Veryx can help migrate applications to public cloud, be it AWS or Azure or GCP. And we utilize Alkira's CSX to set up network as part of day one activities. Further, when it comes to monitoring and governance, yes, there too, Alkira CSX helps you. Veryx also helps to set up CI/CD tools for automated build and deployment. In addition, we provide value-added services and managed services for cloud transformation.
Great. Yes. Good to know that. Moving on, another question is, how does Alkira connect with my existing network? Does it integrate with SD-WAN?
Yeah, so I'll take that one. I think so. So as I mentioned earlier, the Alkira service provides various forms of connectors for both on-prem and cloud, and that includes connecting to popular SD-WAN vendors natively within the service. So we provide automated bring-up of those SD-WAN connectors and integration into your SD-WAN fabric. But in addition to SD-WAN, we also support various other types of connectors for your on-prem environments. In a very basic sense, that could be a site-to-site VPN. It could also be a remote access user VPN. But we also support direct high-speed connectivity into the service for those customers that might want to connect from a data center or colo for high bandwidth applications.
Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to pick up last couple of interesting questions from the audience. The next one will be, what are the steps to discover and connect my existing cloud workloads?
Yes, I think I can cover that one. I think that that's specifically relating to the Alkira service?
Right, that's right.
Yeah. So within the Alkira design canvas, so as I said, there's a visual design canvas that we use to go and design and architect the network. Within there, you can load in your credentials for your various public cloud providers. Then that's the API credentials that I'm referring to. And then using those API credentials, you can essentially select the cloud provider you want to connect into, discover the workloads that are available, and automate connectivity of them into the Alkira Cloud Exchange. And that works across the same process, uniformly applied across all of the various public cloud providers. And the key here is that you do not have to know how networking works in any of those public cloud providers. We will take care of providing that connectivity, as well as making sure we're adhering to those cloud providers' unique set of capabilities and overcoming their potential unique set of constraints and restrictions.
Great. Yeah, hope you got your answer. The guy posted the question. The last one for the day before we wrap up. How can I get more information on using the Alkira Cloud Service solution in my environment?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think that'll probably lead us into some of the takeaways and next steps. But I think in summary, obviously reach out to, I guess, the team here from Veryx, or our partner that's running the webinar today. They can definitely work with you and connect you through to the right people in Alkira. You can also reach out to either Veryx directly or Alkira directly via our website. And yeah, we can get you in touch with the right people that can help you, I guess, plan and implement this into your environment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Julian and Benu, for taking up the questions. I think we'll wrap up with the Q&A. We do have a few additional questions. In the interest of time and best interest of everybody's day, I think we'll get back to you with your answers in a day or two. Just reiterating again, the Veryx Technologies is partnered with Alkira, and we help enterprises to speed up their multi-cloud adoption. You can feel free to reach out to us in the details which we popped up in the slides above. So you can reach out, see our website, veryx.com. We've also attached a couple of direct links to our multi-cloud networking solutions and the solution video demo in the attachment and links section of Bright Talk. Also, feel free to write us at info@veryxtech.com to know more about our services. And I don't know if you want to see about Alkira. Right. So, yes, thank you. That's pretty much what we had to present in this webinar. Thank you, Binu and Julian, once again for the wonderful webinar and the insights that you've shared with us and the audience. And thank you, audiences, again, for taking the time out. I know we're facing such an unusual and an abnormal time. I hope you are all safe and sound in your respective places. Continue to take care. Yeah, that's it. That's pretty much what I had. Thanks, Binu, and thanks, Julian, again. We're happy to help you. See you next time.
Yeah, thanks, Ashraf.
In another webinar. Yeah.
And, thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for having us on this session.
Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.